Hey, sports fans, welcome on in. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell. So glad you could join us. Like and subscribe. Do all those fun things that you love to do. And I really appreciate that you are part of our day. So we have a lot of fun doing this, and hope you really enjoy it. It just keeps growing and growing every day. We love it. Got a great show today. We've got none other than the most important person in all of sports is joining us today, Jim Fannin, the longtime guru to all of the greatest players in all of the sports. He coaches peak performance, how to get into the zone, how to find your best self, how to lock in and create the best performance you possibly can as an athlete. He joins us on the show today. We've got a whole bunch of other things, of course, some great NFL news of notes, some nicknames, and yeah, there's just some fun stuff you don't want to miss today. So really excited to give you this show today, as we do every day. And of course, Jim is joining us right now on the show. Jim, welcome to the Down and Dirty. Are you ready to get down and dirty today?
I'm down and dirty. I'm always ready. Good
Well,
morning, Scott.
and yeah, good morning. And just so everyone knows, Jim has no sleep. He hasn't slept for months now. Actually, it's been months since he slept.
Years.
But years. Yeah, I feel your pain. In fact, I think for me, the lack of sleep is probably the worst thing you could do to me. If I don't sleep, I'm a horrible person. I feel terrible. I don't function. So I commend you. And of course, there's a reason why you don't sleep, because you're coaching athletes in multiple sports all across really the country, and you kind of have to be accessible when they have time to be accessible.
Well, I heard I was the only coach, mental coach at least, that gives their clients 24/7 access. And
Ooh.
so I have global clients, and they expect me whenever they call that I'm good morning or good afternoon. I'm always in a zone state. And so I do 6,000 cell minutes a month. Please don't
Wow.
add that up. I don't want to know how many
Oh
days
my goodness.
or if that
Wow.
have I eaten up the whole month. But my typical day starts around 6. I'd prefer to wake up at 7, but golfers would call me before a round, possibly at 6 a.m. somewhere. And then an NBA guy and a guy playing for the Angels or West Coast team. Well, he's calling me before a game. That's great. He's also calling me after the game, so it's great, but it's still 1 a.m. in Chicago. And so the day is really kind of a 6 a.m. ish to 2 a.m. ish. And yes, my wife and I've watched movies between 2 and 6 a.m. before. And I do take a nap. I've got a place in my office where I take a nap in the afternoon if I need one. It is what it
Yeah.
is. I love what I do, and my clients expect me to be on call. Period.
Yeah. I can only imagine the conversations, because I think of when I was and it was actually one of the most enjoyable things I think about my relationship with my own dad, is that we would talk after games. And all throughout my career. So, as a kid in little league sports, and then through high school and college, into professional football, it was just something that we always did. And it was kind of a way, I don't want to say walk me off the ledge, but kind of you go through a really interesting experience as an athlete when you're playing a game. And I know you can explain all of this, because you were the first person that I ever met who actually did explain this. And there's this kind of decompression going on with physiologically with your body, because of all of the different um, natural chemicals that are going through your body. Just the whole mental exercise that you've been in, because your mental focus has been, at like DEPCON 10. And to have a person, or to have some time to kind of unpack that and just kind of get it out of your system, was something that I always enjoyed. I can only imagine the conversations that you have with these athletes after games actually end.
You hit something with your dad. Negative feelings, and we all have them. Left unexpressed, we don't always do that. Negative feelings left unexpressed will turn into negative actions. And for an athlete under pressure constantly, I had a poor outing. So what? I've got another one coming up.
Yeah.
So let's go. Learn and move on. They do need to express their feelings. But I'm really blunt. I think that's why the clients don't want to leave. I just tell it like it is. They don't like it. If you hit 4 home runs, I've coached 3 guys to do that. After every one of those events, I've said the following: well done, but you're only as great as the game after greatness. Now get your ass back in the trench and let's get going. Next. And you evaluate, you learn from it, and then you move on. And
It's a cruel thing. It sounds horrible to people out there. Like you can't enjoy this. But you can't, and you can't because the game moves on, and
with or without
your next opponent doesn't care either, and they're ready to. Okay, I'll show this guy. He just hit 4 home runs. He won't even touch my stuff today, and so it sounds horrible, but it is the life of an athlete, and I lived it too. And the sooner you could kind of get to next, the much better off you were going to be. The longer you sat there and mired in your own self-pity, or reveled in your success, then that was a death trap. And so as brutal as it sounds, man, it's absolutely necessary to be a consistent performer and have consistent success in whatever sport you're in.
doesn't matter. If you're a quarterback, 18 games in the NFL, you definitely need to be prepared. You need to be prepared to adjust, but you better evaluate immediately. Immediately learn from it and then move on. And a lot of people, even a lot of psychologists say, no, just don't talk about it. Let it go. Do your own thing. Talk about it later. I've heard a lot of people say that, and I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. Every one of those past tense thoughts, every one of those negative thoughts, they're recorded and stored permanently in your mind. So you want to hit that high standard every game, over 18, 17 games, however many games you're going to be in the lineup. 162 games for a hitter in baseball, and 82 games in NBA. It is a next mentality. You're only as good as what you've done next. That's how you're going to be judged. That's how you're going to be remembered. And you've got to do your own evaluation. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. The good news for us, since 1980, I've had a real stringent 25 question evaluation. It is down and dirty. And it's going to tell you got low concentration. It's going to tell you you're cannon fodder for the competition. You're going to get your butt kicked with this mentality. And so the assessment itself is blunt, and it's your data. No one can see it, just my athletes. But it has a histogram. So every time you take the assessment, it timestamps it. So over time, we can track your discipline, your concentration, your optimism, your relaxation, and your enjoyment. And then we can say, this is, you broke up with your girlfriend on June 6th.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that wasn't a great week for you. You let that breakup spill into your sport. And that's where life gets really tough, Scott. You know that better than anybody. How do I balance being a father, a husband, and the quarterback leading my team? Sounds easy. You better have the right significant other, the right situation. That's not easy to manage. We forget that. We just look at the X's and the O's, but life's not like that.
I think one of the things that, as I'm listening, talking to you, that's so important. One is like this aspect of your performance, and you mentioned relationships, you mentioned sports, you mentioned all this stuff. But being responsible for it, taking charge of it, realizing that it's not some arbitrary thing, that's in the air. I remember when I was in college, and I was early on in college, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do in my life, pick a major and all this stuff, and I toyed with the idea of being a psychology major, emphasizing in sports psychology, and a physical therapist. And the thought process was, if I was a physical therapist, I could take control of and help my physical body when I performed in sports, and the psychology was to help in my brain. And as I got older, and as I progressed through my life as an athlete, man, almost 100% of your success was in your brain. It was within yourself, and so often people don't even consider that. They don't know how to tap into it. They don't understand how it all works. And here and the thing that becomes powerful, and what's so great about what you do, and I love what you do, is that you're in control. You can control every aspect, the physical aspect, your nutrition, your soul, your mind, everything that you need to have performing at a high level. You have control over. Your brain is not something that's just out there, and it's some great mystery that we don't know how to use, and we don't know how to train. And just like any other part of your body, how do you train your brain? And this is what's so great about what you do.
The player with the most constants in a game of variables is going to prevail. So the constants that everybody does, I'm going to put my right shoe on, then I put my left shoe on. That's my routine of getting dressed. I've got
Yeah.
my way of getting dressed. I'm going to have 1/2 cup of coffee. I don't like
Yeah.
caffeine, but I need that. I've got a player that he has to have a 1/2 cup. I don't know why. That's
Right.
his thing. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, go for it. But what most people don't realize is, how about the constants in what you're thinking? So I can be doing all the physical routines, all the technical routines that everybody else is doing. I'm doing my thing, but I'm thinking about my girlfriend because she's packed up her bags, and I know when I get
Yeah.
back to the apartment, she's going to be gone, and I can't get her on the phone, and I'm texting her. I didn't mean it. Whatever it is, that's a score breaker. That's a zone breaker. And a lot of people don't know how to handle that, especially when I got a pitch in an hour and I'm not doing well mentally. So one of the things we do, Scott, is we segregate your life into these containers or arenas. We can customize a blueprint for you. But if you have a challenge with your wife, girlfriend, it's contained there. You're trained to not allow it to spill into the baseball, football, basketball, whatever that arena is. Same thing with grades. If I'm struggling in algebra, and if I don't pass it, I'm not even going to be able to play on the team. I didn't segregate my academic life. I didn't commit to the routines I needed to do, going to class, doing my homework. Everything fits together. You want to be disciplined and focused and in a zone state in every part of your life, not just one. And I told so many athletes, and I told the first time I met you in a golf seminar, I think I told everybody,
Right.
don't forget you're more than a golfer. You're a son, you're a brother, you got your own personal health, you got your own personal wealth, your finances, you got your own friends. And so we put that we actually have an app for that, and segregate your life. And now you can have a simple, balanced life mentally. And that unlocks everything for you, Scott.
I
That's
think, yeah,
a
I think
result.
one of the things about that's so powerful, and what I've experienced through this, is you feel overwhelmed. Like when you're in all the aspects of your life, your personal life, professional, everything, man, you're just like, I just got too much going on, and I can't, I can't, it just, my life seems just so overwhelming. And when you actually sit down and you organize your life and all the different areas of your life that you perform, and you take the time, and that was my comment earlier, is that you are in control of your life. Like, it's not something you can do this, you can control it, you can create calm in the chaos of your life. And that's what happened to me, is all of a sudden I looked at, my personal life, and I looked at my relationships, and I looked at my finances, I looked at my profession, I looked at my hobbies, and all these, and all of a sudden you go, oh, my life isn't really, it's not that overwhelming. It just needed to be organized and need to be put in its right perspective, in its right place. And I needed to look at it from a mental perspective, in a healthy way, in a productive way. And just the exercise of doing that, it was remarkable in how it created clarity and calm, for me to move forward in everything that I was doing in a very productive and efficient way.
And you need to learn how to close one arena, football.
Yeah.
And then I've already evaluated. I'm dressed in street clothes now. And now I've got to open a new arena. And that transition should be 90-second transition. If you've been away from somebody that you love and care about at least 2 hours, that could be mom and dad, or that could be your girlfriend or your wife, or husband. If you've been away from them at least 2 hours, the first 90 seconds has more impact on your relationship than spending hours and hours with them later. So put your cell phone down, close your baseball, basketball, football arena, and give your family 90 seconds. That's all. Look them in the eye long enough to discern eye color. And if you got little kids, they're going to run to dad for sure, or mom. Hold them up. Hold on. Let me hug mommy. Now I'm training my kids how to have respect for mom. And now I'm also showing them how they need to have their relationships 30 years from now. And so I always go to mom first. I mirror mom. If she's sad, I go, are you okay? What happened? If she's happy, I'm like, oh, what's going on? And 90 seconds. And then if you have a teenager at home, you're only going to get 90 seconds if you're lucky. I've raised two of them. Scott, you've had teenagers. 90 seconds is a lot of time.
Yeah.
How's your day? You're not going to get much back. But you got to make that transition. And that way you can just keep climbing that mountain in your sport without letting the rest of your life interfere with that.
Right. Yeah. It's very, very powerful stuff. And it doesn't take forever, but it's taking control of it and creating a structure and organizing it in a way where you go, okay, this is good. So I'm going to throw you a curveball here. All right.
I'm waiting on a fastball.
Right. Yeah. And there's a bunch of stuff I want to get into. The combine, baseball's starting to roll forward, spring training, all that stuff. The NBA's heating up, the Olympics. There's some stuff I want to get into, but I want to go in a little bit different direction here for just a moment. And I want to see if you can name. So I'm going to give you a nickname of a sports figure, and I want to see if you can actually tell me who that player is. And are you game for this? Are you?
Yeah, I'm up for it.
Okay. There's no like
no penalties.
Well, we'll just see how good you are.
Oh.
So, all right.
And you gave me no cheat sheet. You should have.
I gave you no cheat sheet, no nothing. So
okay, I'm ready.
I'm gonna give you the nickname, and you're gonna tell me who the athlete is. All right, here we go. The Iceman.
Well, originally it would be George Gervin, the original Iceman.
The original.
Yes. The original Iceman. But it would be our very own, our beloved, soon to be world champion, Caleb Williams.
Oh.
The Iceman.
Oh.
A lot of comebacks, a lot of fourth quarter heroics. He's got ice water in his veins. The Iceman cometh. I mean, Gary Butler was also, that was a singer, a soul singer, was also had an album called The Iceman Cometh. Little trivia. Anyway,
You're
go ahead.
better at this game than I thought you were. Uh, all
It's
right.
kind of,
No, this is
I've been
good.
doing this a half century, so I should know something.
Yeah. I'm going to throw you one right here.
Right.
We'll see if you can get this one. Slim Reaper.
The Slim Reaper. There could be plenty of people that could do that, but the Slim Reaper for me would be Kevin Durant. I would call him the Slim Reaper. 7 foot, crossover. Come on, Moneyball, give it to him. I followed him at Texas. I knew he was a star when he was a freshman. I mean, come on. Is he a point forward, point center, point guard? He could play any position. He's the Slim Reaper.
See, I'm giving you ones that.
Come on, give me some tough ones. These are easy.
Okay, I'll give you one. The logo.
The logo.
Yeah.
Well, I had a conversation with the logo at Riviera Golf Club. I walked up to Gary West, the logo, and I walked up to him and I go, why were you so great? I've been a fan. I followed you at West Virginia. Zeke from Cabin Creek. That was his original name. He was the logo. He is the logo for the NBA. What a guy. He believed he could still, he told me, he said, you know, I think I could still average 20. I said, aren't you 67 years old? He goes, yeah, I can still do it. Anyway, very confident. The logo. Come on, give me something difficult.
Wow. All right. You know, I didn't even know that was his nickname. I knew that he was the logo, but I didn't know that.
Listen, I listened on radio, visualized the beloved Kentucky basketball team, Adolph Rupp, who I met.
Yeah.
No, I never met Babe Ruth. The kid asked me that the other day. I wanted to smack him one, but anyway, I'm listening to Kentucky play West Virginia, and I kept hearing about him scoring the logo, and his nickname was Zeke from Cabin Creek, West Virginia. And so Dad and I were secret Zeke from we followed him, but we're embarrassed. We didn't want anybody that would know that we were actually against Kentucky. But yeah, Zeke from Cabin Creek became.
Wow. You are way too good at this. I'm trying to stump you and I can't. White chocolate.
Come on. White chocolate. Jason Williams. Come on.
Oh, man.
White chocolate. Crossover, double crossover. No look pass. Come on. He took what Magic Johnson can do and went great. I mean, he was the first white black guy player. He was a brother that could ball. Jason Williams, white chocolate.
Yeah, you're too good at this. You are way. AK-47. I'll bet you don't get this one.
It's an NBA AK-47. That's a rifle. My mind went blank. I'm going to know. If we hang up, I will get this AK-47. It's a sharpshooter. I give up. Who is that?
Andre Karolinko, who played for the Utah Jazz, was known as AK-47. And he didn't have maybe some of that national prominence, but it's considered one of the top great nicknames. Yeah, but it's I got you.
That got
1 out of 5.
That got me.
I got you. Yeah. All right, let's do well, let's see. I was gonna do, you know who the Babe is, the Great Bambino. I mean, you never met
No, I'm doing a little talk of a 4th grade class, and this kid comes up and goes, "Did you know Babe Ruth?"
Wow.
No, I did not know Babe Ruth, nor did I study with Abraham Lincoln. I've been doing this a long time, but I didn't know him. Little
so I started coaching high school football, and I went back to the high school where I grew up in my high school.
Can I interrupt?
Really great.
Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
That was
Yes,
one of the
please.
most amazing things that you did. When you called me and told me you were going to do it, I was like, "You're going to do this?" I said, "Oh
Yeah.
man, I that was awesome."
Yeah.
And I love that when you did that.
It
First
was
year
really
of the state finals.
Yeah, we did pretty good. We did well. The thing I learned about it is you have to pay. Like you don't get paid any money to be a high school coach. Like you're going to pay money. And Teddy Bridgewater, who's quarterback in the NFL, he's from I think he's from one of the suburbs of Miami, and it's a really poor area. I'm actually I lived kind of near there. Our old facility with the Dolphins was right in this area. Not a good area, a lot of crime, tough area. But he was like giving kids Uber rides. He was paying for equipment for these kids, and apparently there's some law or rule in the state of Florida where you can't do that. So he was suspended, and I'm like, man, you should never ever suspend a coach who wants to go back to their community and give to these kids. And they changed the law just recently, but
That
originally he was actually fined and suspended because he was trying to help a bunch of poor kids,
and,
find a better life.
and that went even deeper because it wasn't just sports. That there were teachers that were going out of their pocket dropping 500,000 for school
Yeah,
supplies, and they say
yeah.
you can't do that. Well, who's going to do that? Yeah, God bless Teddy Bridgewater of giving back like that.
But to get back to your point about Abraham Lincoln and Babe Ruth, the first day I was coaching, one of the kids came up to me right at the end of practice, and it was in the summer. We were just, we were kind of, it was actually it was in the spring, and he looked at me and he goes, "Were you any good?" You know, and I was really taken back by it. And when you said, "Have you met Babe Ruth?" Is like, "Were you any good?" Because they timestamp you, and they're like, "You're kind of old for us. You're ancient. You're 48 years old or whatever." I was probably like 40. I don't know how old I was, but um, and I just said to the kid, I said, "Look, I'm not going to sit here and read you my resume, go back in time." I said, "You go home and you do some research on your own. You go research and see what I did as an athlete, and then you determine for yourself if I was any good or not. I'm not gonna read you my resume." So he goes home, comes back the next day, and he said, "Coach, just want to know that I Googled you and you came up on Google. So that's all I needed to know. If you came up on Google, you must have been good. Clearly, apparently, you were famous at one point because you come up on Google." He didn't even look at anything. He
Oh,
just searched, and I showed up, and that was good enough for him. So there you have
well,
it.
the good thing you did is you had them do it themselves. I do that with my clients. I'll
Yeah.
say something, a word, mitigate, and they go, What is that?" I go, "Look it up." I don't want to tell them. Look it up and get back to me, but get back to me by using it in a sentence. The athletes I'm coaching, I want them to be lifelong learners in everything. And if you keep learning, it keeps the neural pathways open and expanding. And you only go into the past for two reasons: laughing and learning. If it's not about laughing or learning, why are you doing that? It's a waste of time. These kids will go back and analyze. Pros will strike out, run to the dugout, get the iPad, and go over the strikeout. And
Wow.
I'm like, stop doing that. Evaluate after. Just chill. Don't evaluate every time. They're evaluating even between uh, pitches sometimes. So be present. That's the toughest thing right now in our society because there's too many things that's keeping us out of the present. shooting us into the future, taking us out back into the past. We're a society, not just sports. We don't live in the present. The best in the world live in the present 80% of their waking hours. Think about that. Only go into the future or past 20% of the time for planning, strategy, or learning. Otherwise, be present, but not just in your sport, when you go home, in your personal life. I think that's our biggest challenge as a society. And I know that's the biggest challenge we face as coaches, keeping our kids present.
So, speaking of present, I wanted to talk about some things that have presently gone on, and mainly the Olympics. It just wrapped up this past week, and you, as we talked earlier, you're like, "Oh, we took second," and I thought that was an interesting take on that. I'd love for you to expound on it, and I have some questions about. Well, just talk about that, and then I'll ask you.
Well,
I'll ask you some more
first of all, let's just put the cards on the table. Norway kicked our ass in the Winter Olympics,
questions. Okay.
and they've always done that. Throw Russia in at different Olympics. Why is that? Well, I've coached Olympic athletes from Norway. I coached a lot of Norwegians. Somehow I got caught up in the whole Norwegian sports scene, and they're so locked in. They put all their Winter Olympics on the biggest pedestal. Their stars nationally. They can't go out like other stars here can't go out to dinner without being interrupted. You know, the football, the basketball, the baseball stars that everybody knows. It's like that in Norway. So we just don't put a lot of emphasis on those sports in the U.S. like the other cold weather countries. Norway is formidable, but I've been there and I know why. It's a big deal. It's a primary thing for them to do. And so the best athletes aren't going into pro basketball or pro tennis or pro golf. The best athletes are going where? In Norway, winter sports. Here, there's a huge competition for talent. And now there's so many sports, everybody wants that guy, that girl who's going to make a difference on my team or in this sport. And there's a scramble to find that talent. There's more competition for that than at any other time. I've coached 22 professional sports. I didn't know there were that many. That's
Right.
insane. I was coaching
Yeah.
Eastern European handball.
Wow.
Who cares?
Wow.
It's a big deal in Eastern Europe.
Have you ever coached cricket?
Oh, absolutely. I got a
Really?
call. Oh, yeah. I got a call. I got a hookup with a golfer from South Africa. David Frost said, "You got to help my buddy. He's a cricketer. Do you know anything about cricket?" I go, "Yeah, I can take care of it." As I'm trying to find out, how do you play cricket? You know, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know anything about it. But I realized that cricket's like baseball. Next thing I know, I'm talking to on the computer with Gary Kirsten, and I helped him set a world record against England, South American England. Never met him, just talked to him on the phone. Have I coached cricket? Yes, I've coached cricket.
Wow. I still don't understand cricket. I don't want to explain it right now, but I do want to know, like, how do you
Let's
play
put it
cricket?
this way:
'Cause
if you do
it
any
goes on for days, right? You can have matches that go on for a long, long time.
3 or 4 days and it ends up in
Yeah.
a tie. What's up with that?
Wow.
You know, somebody should
Wow.
somebody should be dead after 7 days if you're playing. I mean,
Uh,
whoever's alive wins. No, it's a tie. Go home. I don't get
Wow.
it.
And it's very I mean, there's there's over 1 billion cricket fans in the world. Like, it's a big deal. And it's
India,
not here.
India,
You know,
Sri Lanka. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
So it's a fascinating thing about these Olympics in Norway, because Norway has what, 5.6 million, somewhere around that residents, and you're talking about the competition for sports, and I just, you know, apparently it's not that important. It's like, it seems like it's important. It seems like every time the Olympics comes around, well, we should just be great at this, because we're America. and yet this small country just dominates everyone, including us. And I wonder, you know, does it? I mean, do we really want to do this? Because it would seem to me like, you know, these sports that these Winter Olympics, like, you know, some of these shooting, skiing events, it just doesn't seem like it's that like exciting, or you know, or you get people into it. I'm just wondering if, you know, is that all it would take, is just say, hey, we're going to value this, we're going to put a concerted effort towards developing players for this, or if it's just, you know, I'd love to find out how some of these athletes just get into these sports, and do
I,
they just stumble on them? I mean, I don't know.
I
It's
had the national curling team. This
yeah.
is several years ago. Call me. Do you know anything about curling? I can figure it out. Yes, I now know something about curling, but they had the same challenge as most. No one was funding them. They had to try to get sponsors. They didn't have enough money. Yet Norway, the government's funding them
Yeah.
because it's a big deal there, and you're a household name there, and it is what it is. It takes commitment. I help people win a gold medal. That's a 4-year commitment. Actually, a 6-year commitment, typically, a building up just to an Olympics. So there's so many opportunities for athletes here that's the challenge. The talent pool is definitely diluted because there's so many sports.
So you have hockey. I want to ask you some questions about hockey, because the U.S. has kind of said, well, you know, can we use professional players in some of these sports, and basketball, and some of the stuff? I mean, what's going to be exciting about the Summer Olympics in Los Angeles is they're going to have some version of football, a flag football, in the Olympics, with the potential of professional football players playing. But
A lot of people very upset about this. You know who's upset
yeah,
about this?
I don't. Tell me.
Break dancers
Oh,
are
okay.
ticked off about this because break dancing was an Olympic sport. I'm coaching a 12-year-old break dancer. Never thought I'd be doing that. I'm
Wow.
serious. I love him. And Flip, if you're watching, you're awesome. Anyway, he's 12 years old. But break dance, they were going to add flag football, but they had to take out something. They took out break dancing. But break dancing had a debacle with the girl from Australia and made a mockery of break dancing. So they said they're going to put break dancing back in the Olympics in 32. So maybe
Hmm.
the 12-year-old I'm coaching will be in the Olympics in 32.
When do you reach your peak in breakdancing? Like, how old are you? Is
I would think it would be 13 or 14. I don't know. But all I know is the kid that I'm coaching, he's done moves that I didn't know a body could do. So
Yeah.
he's one of the top he's one of the top in the world in his age group, which is mind blowing. Anyway,
So my
go back to
mind has
flag
been blown
football.
today. Yeah, my mind has been blown today by you. I'm trying to wrap my brain around cricket and breakdancing, and like how like, yeah, I guess it's probably the same function, right? I mean, the
Well,
zone phenomena is the same regardless of whatever sport or whatever you're doing. And yeah, and there's got to be a focus, and you know, I
there's
guess you
three
can screw up
parts.
breakdancing.
There's 3 parts to every performance. And I don't care who you are. There's the time before the performance. We all have the same amount of time, but somebody's prepared better than the other person. Well, our clients are the best prepared, but we're prepared to adjust and adapt swiftly, where a lot of people aren't prepared to adjust. Pre-performance, then there's performance, where you can make adjustments, even as a jockey at the Derby, which I've coached. So it doesn't matter what the sport is. And then
Right.
there's the post performance, which is the evaluation. And those 3 are constants: pre performance, performance, post performance. Learn from it, retool the next pre performance, and then do it again and do it again. And it's just repeat, rinse, and repeat.
the U.S. hockey men's hockey team were guests at the State of the Union address. Of course, they went to the White House. I asked this question, Herman. I had Herman Moore yesterday, and you know, uh, sports for whatever reason is now political. It's kind of gets polarizing in some events. The Olympics were polarizing. Some athletes, I'm not really, for my country. It's just for me. Don't like what's going on in the country, so I don't really want to represent my country today. And it's volatile. It's contentious. One, would you go to the White House if you do you coach your athletes on stuff like this to where you don't necessarily agree with the politics of the person in the office, but do you go to the office, do you go to the State of the Union? What's your thoughts about kind of some of these athletes, and really specifically the Olympics, because it is our national thing, and it's about our country. So I'm just curious kind of where you land on all of that.
There's a few things I don't talk about, and I will address this, but the things I don't talk about with my clients is sex, religion, politics. I don't go there. I don't go there at all. I don't. I think those are personal choices. I can map things out for a client. You make your choice. When I look at an Olympics, yeah, you're representing the United States. I look at the White House as the Oval Office of a president that's been around 250 years. But you've got it on things like that where dip into that's a personal thing, and I'm not going to advise somebody on what to do. I've advised all my clients, listen to your gut and act on it. And it may not be the right thing for people at that time. I'm talking about other people, but it's got to be right for you. Listen to your gut. To me, it's an individual thing. You can't have a group thing and make everybody do something like that that's been politicized. I don't believe in politics in sports. I don't think there's any point in having it there. And anyway, that's my take on it.
Do you think it ever kind of gets in the way of things with some of your athletes where they get kind of caught up in some of this stuff, and
No,
they all of a sudden, you talk about Colin Kaepernick and some of these other athletes that have, kind of made a stance and feel an obligation to make a stance. Did you ever have a discussion about, hey, this is kind of impacting things in maybe not the best way possible?
everything's risk and reward. What's the risk of coming out that you're gay? What's the risk of coming out that you're leaning one way or the other? There's a risk and reward to everything, especially when you're in the bright lights. So I do go in and say, what's the risk? What's the reward? But again, I don't make decisions for my clients, but I will map out risk and reward, business clients, supply and demand. I'll get into all the dynamics that are pulling this and tugging at it in different directions. But the bottom line is, and this is one thing I've got a pet peeve with, I'm very aware that young kids are not world-class decision makers, because I get them early, 14, 15, 16. They want scholarships, they want to play pro, all these things. But I'm saying, parents, help your child become a world-class decision maker. This is something that individuals must be decisive about and be able to walk around a challenge 360. And once you've seen it from every angle and every viewpoint, then you need to still listen to your gut just in case you miss something. But kids aren't trained to do that. They're not, your child is, and I've said this on a few of our shows, your kid is only as good as what they think when you're not there. My role is to help young student athletes become world-class decision makers. And parents need to step up to that. I think
Man,
have
that might be the most important thing you could teach young people. As you're saying this, I'm just thinking of all the dumb decisions I made and they're crucial decisions. You talk about, I think about going to college or getting married or, careers, all these different,
And,
friends,
and
just
what if you have an
not
agent?
prepared for it.
And what if you hook up with an advisor, an agent that has different intentions? He's
Right.
looking after himself. He's not looking after
Yeah.
you. And your gut says, I should probably get somebody else, but I'm 19. I don't
Yeah.
know anything. And mom and dad
That's
are
awkward.
clueless.
That's uncomfortable. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Be a world-class decision maker, and you will be successful no matter what. One more thing I think we need to do, and this is part of the decision making, control your breathing. That's your superpower. If I can keep my breathing under 10 breaths a minute in football, I'll be calm and cool when my heart rate goes up in that 2.5 seconds to get my reads and then fling the ball into the sideline, to Herman Moore, whatever it is. But breathing, don't let anybody elevate your breathing. Your wife, your girlfriend, your mom, your dad, your coach. If you can control your breathing, you're not going to get frustrated. You're not going to worry. You're not going to get pissed off. You're not going to get upset. You won't get angry because anger is never the first emotion. We train people to have more constants in a crazy world or sport of variables. Breathing needs to be a constant.
When you mentioned breathing, and I just watched this, I don't know, it was 3 or 4 days ago, and I love to watch. I don't know why I do, but I'm so fascinated by, the lunar, um, landing of the moon type of thing, and, it was just such a romantic part of our history where president says, "We're gonna put a man on the moon in the next decade," and we did, and just the whole process of how that happened, but they were giving vital statistics of the astronauts as they were performing, when they shot them into orbit, and they talked about their heart rate and their breathing and and how it accelerated and here, because it looks static, it's like, you know you know um, but in reality, it's like, man, they really, it was a rather nervous situation. And Neil Armstrong, I think his heart rate went up to like 155 or something like this, and it normally is like in the 50s, and all the, and then, but a Buzz Aldrin, he was pretty chill, he was through the whole thing, and it was just fascinating to kind of see the human side of it, when they're doing such a monumental
Uh,
task, but
well, let's
how important that breathing is to what
tie
they
it
do. Yeah.
together. This goes
Yeah.
into decision making.
Yeah.
If my heart rate goes up to 160, typically my breathing is going to rise to 20 breaths a minute. The
Yeah.
average person's got 15 to 17 breaths a minute. But the best in the world, that heart rate jacks up and the breathing goes down to 6 to 8 breaths a minute. That's a fierce warrior. That person is going to be a world class decision maker because that breathing helps clarity. Breathing deeply uh, gives the blood flow in the brain uh, more flow. Therefore, I'm going to make better decisions.
Yeah, and they were having alarms go off in the situation, like, "What is this alarm?" Or, "Should we be nervous?" And they're like, "No, we're good, we're good." And then they're like, "Hey, you're supposed to be landed by now." And he's like, "Yeah, but there's a bunch of rocks down here. It's not really, we didn't see these rocks from far away." And, so, he says, "I think up ahead here is a better," and they're like, "Yeah, I got about 30 seconds left of fuel." So I can only imagine.
Think about that and translate it for an athlete. The
Yeah,
money's on the table. I got 30 seconds left in the
yeah.
game. 2 minute. I'm under the 2 minute. 30 seconds. I'm driving down. Everybody's crazy. Everybody in the stands, their heart rate's up, their breathing's up. They're looking through their fingers. They can't look at it. And the quarterback is just ice water in the veins, calm and cool.
I hadn't really, um, kind of put these 2 together, but when I trained, so I trained with kind of the framework of, I work inside a phone booth, right? I'm in a very small space. The pocket is not big, and it's always like fluid. Like, you don't know where the pocket really is going. You have a general idea. You hope, that it's all pristine, but and so I would train like how it really was. And that was, and there's a whole bunch of craziness going on. I mean, you talk about rock fields, you talk about alarms going off, you got all of these players, both your own and the opponent, and their objective is don't let people get to the quarterback, your people, and the other people are like, we want to kill him. Like we want to get to this guy. And it's something it's almost, I don't know how to fully describe it, but there's a sound to it because these players running into each other as quickly and as hard and as forceful as they possibly can. But there's also this, like, it's almost an energy that comes off of that there's this, the wave of the rush, and if you're not comfortable with it, it's like overwhelming. It's like it, and the crazy part about it is you're functioning in this little world, right? And in this little phone booth, and you can't be conscious of it. Your eyes, your focus, everything has to be down the field. So all you do in the phone booth is you just feel your way through the phone booth. And it,
And
it literally is like Luke Skywalker, just use the force and
this,
shut off
this
your eyes. And and so I would train this, and I always said, I trained to be calm in the chaos. And so for me, it was physical. What I was, the preparation was physical. I'd have all these footballs, and I'd have all these drills, and I'd move through the pocket, and I'd do all this stuff. But it was really about my mind, and it was really about breathing, and it was really about, creating um a comfort level in being calm in a chaotic situation.
now,
And
say,
I just so understand this breathing and all this stuff. It's so
let's
important.
get down and dirty with that, because you mastered that. You were awesome at that. The down and dirty of that is you've got your energy on the other side of the scrimmage line in a second isolated vision, and you're going through three progressions. Isolated, no. Look in the no, yes. Or you come back to the screen, the halfback leaks out for a little screen to bail you out. All that's in 2.5 seconds. And everything's going 100 miles an hour, but you're in this purposeful, calm zone state. Heart rate's up, breathing's down, eyes are in double or triple shutter speed, which slow down passing lanes. You're seeing the game slow. Well, people not in the zone, it's sped up. They're making mistakes. They're being offsides. All kinds of negatives are happening. It depends on who's controlling their breathing and who's controlling their energy, their vibes, and where is that energy being sent. And it's 2.5 seconds. And then when it's over, reload and do it again.
Yeah. It's kind of freaky. And so when the very first preseason game was always really freaky to me. And it was for this reason, because you are playing in an unconscious state. You are in your subconscious mind. You're not even aware of like 5 or 10 things you do on a given play. You're like, I mean, I've had coaches as we've reviewed the film go, man, that was really good. What were you thinking right there? And I go, I don't even remember doing that. Like, I can't tell you what I just felt it, kind of thing. And so what would happen is, because in practice you weren't live, like no quarterback's live in practice. So there's not ever the threat of someone actually hitting you. And so it's the way you practice is good. And you couldn't do it any other way. You couldn't get tackled every day in practice. You'd never make it through a season. But that first game, when you would, the first game of a new season, and you're not trusting totally this phenomena that goes on. It took watching the film of the first game and go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, my spidey senses are on. They're actually good. because it freaks you out because you just haven't used them for a while, and then
I,
you get into it and you're like, yeah,
I think
and then it's literally like breathing. You just instinctively, intuitively do it, and I really believe this. I think that's the difference between how guys make it, and I'm just speaking for quarterbacks in the NFL and how they don't, is that if they can master this, and it's almost hard to describe to people how you master it, you either do or you don't. But I believe what you offer to people, you could actually train a lot of people how to be so much more effective and this probably at any position, well, not probably at any position, but man, especially at the quarterback position.
Yeah, if you look at the Super Bowl, Darnold controlled his breathing. He made no mistakes. And Drake May did not control his, that's my opinion, did not control his relaxation
Yeah,
level, did not
totally.
control his enjoyment level. And he had a real high self discipline, real high concentration, but it was too much. It was an imbalance. So he didn't get into that flow of vibrational energy
Yeah.
going across the scrimmage line. I don't believe the defense felt him. I believe the opposite. He felt the
Yeah.
defense. When you were in that phone booth, you didn't want to feel the defense. You wanted to, no, no, no. They're going to feel me, right?
Yeah.
It's the game.
Totally. Yeah.
It's a mental energy battle at the line of scrimmage. How many guys, 11 guys, get their energy on the other side of the line of scrimmage? That's a good play. Only 5 guys have their energy on the other side. That's probably a broken play.
There were times when being in that phone booth and you learn how to position your body to give it the absolute maximum time for a receiver to be open and knowing that you're going to take a shot, you're going to get hit, and so you learn how to position your body or move just enough, and then you make this last second adjustment, and so much of it is the rush is typically coming at you from the front, and so you can kind of hold that off. It's almost like you can even have a guy hanging on you or having a guy hit you and anticipating the force of that, and because your arm is behind you, and so they're not touching your arm, and you can learn how, and it was just this, there's so many little subtle tricks that I learned that you don't teach people. You're just out there and you just go, yeah, if now if they're coming from behind you, that's a different story, but and that's a different technique. But there are a lot of things you learned about, and the people today talk about arm angles, and they throw off platform and they do all these things, and I'm like, man, this stuff is it's not new. Like y'all are inventing these words and terminology for stuff that was certainly done before I played, but when in my time playing, it's like, yeah, we threw off platform, we threw different arm
Sidearm.
angles. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you times when my arm angle might have been right, but my wrist angle was totally different. And that wrist angle actually gave the ball a little bit more trajectory to where I could throw it up over a defender. And that has nothing to, that's wrist angle, I mean, so there's and that's not a new concept to anyone, but it's that it's almost like when you're in this subconscious state, when you're in the zone, it's almost a laboratory of creativity.
Oh,
And
yeah.
unless you get into that area, you can't experiment or you can and it's like your mind is unlocked. You talk about constantly learning, and when you're in that state and you're performing, like you're out on the field and you're getting, like he's getting savvy, he's getting game savvy. This guy's, that nothing phases this guy now. He's seen it all, kind of thing. And unless you can get into that mindset, you don't really have the privilege of or the opportunity of being creative and being um finding solutions. And I think one of the biggest pet peeves I have is that a lot of how coaches coach that out of you. They coach that creativity. They coach they coach the zone right out of you kind of thing
I,
a lot of
I,
times. And I think of Dan Marino and how many things he did, and you just go, you can't coach that, you can't teach that. And he learned it because he just get in the zone and he's like, man, I don't know why I do half the stuff I do. It just kind of comes out. And
what if,
it's just a beautiful, amazing thing to have happen when you get into that zone.
what if you could be in the zone in everything you do? I'm
Yeah.
in the zone, not a competitive zone, but when I go home, am I the best husband? Well, being in the zone means I'm more attentive. I'm more receptive. I'm reading body language. I'm reading the room, which a lot of pro athletes go home and they don't read the room because the room revolves around them. That's a challenge. Are you the best parent you can be? Are you in the zone? Are you in playing Candyland with your 5-year-old and sit there and do it for 30 minutes without being on your phone? You can practice the zone in business, in academics, taking a test. All of us, 8 billion of us, have been in a zone state reading a book where I'm not only reading the book, but I can see the characters, and it's like I'm watching a movie. And then somebody interrupts me, and I can't get back into the book, and so I put it down. I was in the zone. But when you can live your life in the zone, and it's different with competition, but it's still basically self-discipline, concentration, optimism, relaxation, enjoyment. When you can do that, that's a true champion. That's even higher than the guy that's a champion in quarterbacking, but he's a terrible dad and he's not a good husband, probably go through 5 divorces, but he's a great football player. That person's put all their happy eggs in one basket. That's not a good investment long term. And athletes eventually know this up front. But you can be in the zone and everything, and that's what we do at Zone Coach. Anybody wants to find out how to get your life in the zone, you can go to zonecoach.com. But to me, that's what it's all about. I want to be in the zone every day. And also, if you're in that zone every day, you're also not going to get a cold. And if you do, you'll get rid of it quicker. You can heal faster. You will learn faster. So the zone is the place to be, and it's built into every one of us. And this isn't limited just to a superstar quarterback or a top baseball player. Everybody can get it and has been in this mindset.
Oh boy, I could not agree more. Absolutely, and it's the key to a rich, purposeful, meaningful life, and it just unlocks so much joy and happiness, and it's amazing. So, hey Jim, it's all the time we have for today. Like, this is awesome. Every conversation every week is always awesome.
And went quick.
It went really quick. Yeah. So check out zonecoach.com if you're interested in a very purposeful, meaningful, and rich life. So thanks, Jim. Hope you have a great day, and we'll chat soon for sure.
Be in the zone, Scott. I know you will. Later. Bye.
All right. There you have it. The zone coach, Jim Fannin, who I learned today coaches cricket and European handball. More to come here on the Down and Dirty when we return. Stick around. You don't want to miss it.
The Pete Souza Show, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. You want to talk NFL draft? I don't know. How about we get you Todd McShay? You want to talk Big 12? We can get you the commissioner. Somebody about the Cowboys? How about we have on the owner, Stephen Jones? Pop culture? Michelle Beadle. I mean, we will bring on the people that you want to hear from. And these people don't join us because of me. They join us because of you. You got to watch this show, okay? It's got everything you need. Sports, hijinks, laughs. Did I mention hijinks? We'll see you on the Pete Souza Show. Now, we are under the 365 Sports umbrella. Check it out. I'm wearing a Tulane shirt. No idea why.
It's the Pete Souza Show. Sports, Pete.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Sports don't stop, and neither do we. Welcome to 365 Sports, your home for real conversations, original shows, and coverage that lives where sports actually happen. Join David Smoke, Craig Smoke, and myself, Paul Catalina, for in-depth interviews and local stories to the moments national media misses. 365 Sports brings you the voices, debates, and perspectives fans care about every single day. Subscribe now on YouTube, search 365 Sports, and never miss a moment because sports aren't seasonal. They're 365.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back to the Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell here, your host. We love to get down and dirty. We also love that you love our show. So love us. And there's just lots of love going around. We'll just give kumbayas and hugs and all that wonderful thing. Because you know what? Life is worth celebrating. It's about being kind to one another. And we love sports and we love talking about them. I love sharing my perspective and all that good stuff. So thank you for your patronage. All right. We're going to get into some NFL news of notes. Big stuff going on. Of course, Combine is in full force. And I hate the Combine. I really do, actually. Like, I was just so unprepared to go into the NFL, and I didn't really have anyone to kind of guide me. Like I was on my own. I was not ready for anything that was about to happen to me. It was a shocking, traumatic experience. Had I known and had I been able to prepare more for it, I think it would have been a good thing. And I don't know, and I was in a unique situation. It was in 1990. The 1990 draft, where a lot of, for the first time, juniors entered the NFL draft. There was a lot of guys, and the evaluation of players wasn't probably as complete as it possibly could have been. I think I could have had a much better showing had maybe people known more about me. I think the Combine for me, for that reason, probably was much more important. Because there just wasn't the resources or the time to do the evaluations on players. So maybe some of these other players that had more recognition or more, I think of mine, 12 rounds in 1990 in the draft. And I think of a guy like John Randall, who didn't even get drafted and ends up in the Hall of Fame. And you have to wonder if part of that is because maybe the evaluation wasn't as thorough as it possibly could be. Now, John was an undersized guy, but he proved that didn't really matter. It was a great player. So I think I just hate the Combine, and it's fine. And it's one of those things where I think that as I talk to a lot of people, they're just like, okay, this is just a marker. It's just, we do a full analysis and evaluation of a player, and the Combine is just a small moment where you do interviews, you do some medical evaluations, is this person, and it's stuff you have to do. And quite frankly, that was really all the Combine was for initially. It was, instead of a player going to each organization, going to their medical doctors, their medical personnel, having a complete physical and doing it 32 times, they just said, why don't we get one area? Because the medical makeup is not going to change, like the New York Giants practicing medicine is not going to be any different than the New Orleans Saints practice. It's a universal, x-rays are going to be x-rays and all this stuff. So that's part of why the Combine is, hence the Combine. Let's combine everything here so we can make it much more efficient in our evaluation and assessment of these players, because the physical side of it, the mental, the medical side of it. Does this guy have issues? Does he have a heart problem? Does he have it's very important. I get it. Not a fun thing to go through, because it's as thorough an exam as you've ever experienced in your life. They test, poke, and prod everything. And you feel violated. You learn things about yourself you didn't know. So the combine's going on right now. Now, Reuben Bain, Jr., who's an NFL prospect this year, says the scouts don't really care about your arm strength. They care more about your play on the field. Now, it's fascinating that he says this, because I think a lot of now, of course, sorry, I'm recovering from pneumonia, so I have the sniffles and the cough, trying to get all that stuff out. Anyways, but he just said that there it's more on your play on the field, right? And so now it's so I get so Martin, tell me, is this because Reuben Bain, of course, he's one of the top players in the draft this year.
Yeah.
Um, so he's talking about arm length, right? And I'm sorry, because I read this wrong. So
Yeah.
not arm strength, because I'm thinking of quarterbacks, but it's arm length. And
Yes.
it's an interesting thought process, because when you evaluate players, you're looking at everything, and they do evaluate arm length, right? And I mean, you look at Will Campbell, I think that was a knock on him when he was drafted, and then you kind of see maybe there might be something to it if you watch what happened in the Super Bowl, right? You go,
Yeah.
maybe that arm length might have some, and it's a small thing, right? It's maybe the difference of 2 or 3 inches or whatever. And so Reuben Bain Jr. is saying they're not really that interested in that with me. So it's more about how you play on the field, which I agree with. But it is an advantage to have longer arms. Like, if you have that weapon, it certainly is an advantage. But if you have another weapon, then that maybe it's you have a little bit more quickness, or you have a little bit more leverage, or you have whatever it might be, the strength you have, it equates. And I guess I've always equated different body types, different like sizes, makeups, all different physical attributes, as it's like the jungle. And the jungle is not made up of just one animal type. There's not just lions in the jungle. In fact, there are cheetahs. There are a lot of like predatory animals in the jungle. There's not just one type. Hyenas, I mean, you could say crocodiles maybe. And so they're predatory. And then there's other animals like a gazelle, all these different kind of or you could even say a giraffe or an elephant, which isn't necessarily a predatory animal, but they all have unique makeup, and they all learn to survive in the jungle because of the uniqueness of who they are. The deer can run like nobody's business, and giraffes are very tall, and and elephants are very big and robust, and they all can function and survive and thrive in the jungle, even though they're not the same. And I think it's very true about a lot of players. But you have to wonder if there isn't, because I think, first of all, Reuben Bain's really a really good player, and and it's like, do you pass on a guy because his arm's just a little short? And I think some teams would, honestly, and then I think other teams go, look at how this dude can play. So interesting comment. You had something to say.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, to kind of relate it to a quarterback, it's like with Kenny Pickett with his small hands, right? You know, you got to have those big giant hands to handle the football, and with defensive and offensive linemen, especially edge rushers, the longer your arms and the more powerful your punch can be, the faster you're going to beat that offensive tackle who's trying to put his hands out first. You know, if his hands are a little bit, his arms are a little bit short, then he's got to work on his, speed moves, his, his footwork, stuff like that. I still think he'll go in the top. I say top 10. I think Ruben Bain is someone you have to
Right.
draft, especially at edge.
Yeah.
There's no way you could pass him up, and that's coming from a Notre Dame fan that saw him rip apart the Notre Dame offensive line week 1. So this dude is somebody you want to go draft.
Yeah, there is a lot about just can the guy play,
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Cincinnati is actually suing Brendan Sorsby for $1 million. And they're doing so because he apparently broke his contract, his NIL contract. And I bring this up because I think we're at the tip of the iceberg of this. And this might be a good thing. And I think I think the University of Cincinnati just didn't say, oh shoot, we lost this guy and whatever kind of thing. They're like, no, these contracts matter. NIL, if you're going to sign some kind of contract, you got to live up to it. There are consequences. There's buyouts for coaches when they leave a program. So I don't think this is a bad thing. It part of me is just like, wow, these universities are now suing former players, and it just you just go, what have we come to with this? But I don't think that's a bad thing. Initially, I'm just like, wow, okay. And the reason I don't think it's bad is because I think there has to come some type of order and not this crazy outlaw anything goes type of thing. And you see these universities kind of fighting back to some degree. And I love the Cincinnati's response. It's like, look, we have this duty and obligation to utilize these funds in the most judicious way that we can. And we're just not going to say, oh yeah, we're going to just throw away $1 million that we're entitled to. And the second thing when I hear this, it's like, you wonder if the player still has the $1 million, like, because you're a young kid and you get all this money and I just guarantee these guys go out and buy stuff, buy a house, buy whatever. It's almost Pavlov's dog. There's just an instinct and I get money, I spend it, and I spend it on big things, and it's like because I can, and I get that. I actually went through that. In fact, I remember, and everyone does, right? You just do. And so I remember when I went to the NFL and I said to myself growing up, I said, if I make it in the NFL, the first thing I'm going to buy is I want a Mercedes. I want an S500 Mercedes, silver, traditional, Mercedes color at the time. And I just thought that was the coolest car in the entire world. And it just, to me, epitomized success that I'd made it. So I make it in the NFL. And I'm like, I'm not buying a Mercedes. I was the tightest person in the world with my money. I was like, I'm not doing this at all. I had a Ford Explorer. Right. And it was when they first came out. And I bought the cheapest version because I had to have a car. I had to have a car. And so I bought this Ford Explorer, and it had a manual transmission. So I'd shift, 5 gears and reverse. And it's probably worth a ton of money now, just because there weren't that many that came around. And I want to say it was probably $12,000 or something like that. And so I didn't buy the Mercedes. I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. And then I went, I of course became a free agent, and at the beginning of free agency, and at the time signed, the biggest deal that they'd had to that time in free agency, which is a laugh today. I mean, it's just a joke how much money it wasn't, but it was at the time. And the only thing I did is I went to a fancy dinner. I spent $600 on a dinner to celebrate, and that was it. Nothing more than that. And I still didn't buy the Mercedes. Didn't buy it. And then I was into my second contract with the Detroit Lions, and I finally said, "You know what? You deserve this Mercedes, gosh darn it." And so I went and I bought a Mercedes, but I didn't even buy it. I leased it. And I just said I leased it with the potential of owning it. Now, part of the reason that I didn't buy a Mercedes because I lived in Michigan, and like a foreign car is not like you don't get um, you don't buy a foreign car in Michigan. What happened was Chrysler um, had purchased Daimler, and Daimler was the one who produced Mercedes, and several of the automakers, the big three, actually got like European car divisions, and then it was okay because if you didn't like if you drove anything other than an American, you drove a Toyota, a Subaru, a Honda. Your car is any foreign car in Michigan is going to get car keyed. Like it's like no, you're messing with our livelihood here, and so you just didn't see them. They're all American cars in Michigan, and then all of a sudden Mercedes became okay to buy, and I did, and I was like, and I had the car, I leased it, and I leased it for 2 years, and I said, this is really cool. This is an amazing car, and it was. It's just how it drove. I mean, it's just I really felt like I'd really gotten somewhere in my life, and then I just said, yeah, I can't do it, and I never ever bought a Mercedes, even though I said it. So I did something right in my life. But Brendan Sorsby, it'd be interesting to see how this all tracks out, and it'll be significant for the I believe the NCAA when these decisions all of a sudden there are ramifications, and I think it changes too the structure of these agreements. You know that there's that the you know to kind of you just can't walk away, and if you're going to take all this money, then you have to show a level of commitment, and I totally get that. All right, the Houston Texans are parting ways with Jared Johnson. He's been the quarterback coach for the past 3 seasons, and I think you had a question for me about quarterback coaches, Martin. And
Yeah. We talked to your former quarterback coach earlier this week, and Mark Trestman. So I wanted to know, like how important is a quarterback coach to the development of an NFL quarterback, just in the NFL today or just in NFL general? How important is his role to not only to the offensive coordinator's role and to trying to get the quarterback to play well?
yeah, if you have because the coordinator and the system is the top priority, right? And because he's the guy calling the plays. And so he's the guy that can put you in a good light, a bad light, a medium light. And so there's the that's the most important relationship. And it's really important to where you have a good relationship there. You have a good communication. There's a lot of back and forth and discussion. And I think of one experience I got into where I just had a offensive coordinator that never meet with me, and I for the life of me could not understand this. It was Sylvester Crooms when I was in Detroit. He would not meet with me. Why, I have no idea. To this day, I don't have any idea. Only time in my career I ever experienced that, because that relationship is so vital, and you got to be on the same page with everything, and you got to really find a level of comfort with all of that, and and that was the way they did it. So then the quarterback coach becomes extremely important. So kind of where your relationship with the offensive coordinator kind of dictates a little bit of how important and because quarterback coaches can go from non-existent, irrelevant, no impact to having a huge impact on your success. Now, regardless, you get a really good quarterback coach. It's just because it's a buffer zone. It's a way for you to, they're really good at getting your mind right and getting you prepared every week, because it is the person you spend the absolute most time with on any given week. Now, some quarterback coaches are also coordinators. It's now become very specific to you know, where they break down the coaches, and so there's a guy almost with every player, there's a coach almost, and having that person there to be able to talk through technique and really make sure that your fundamentals are not sliding, to have those eyeballs on you all the time, to have that person that you can actually go, okay, you're just able to bounce things off, and it's nice to have that. And a really good one is extremely valuable. And you look at some of these places, you look at the San Francisco 49ers, and they've had Brian Greasy, who was a former quarterback who's done a really nice job with them in the past, and to really get someone who really understands it. Now, I had a former player as a quarterback coach, and in fact, I had two different ones. I had Greg Landry, who was a Pro Bowl quarterback for the Lions in the 70s, and Greg was our quarterback coach, and he was awesome. And he passed away recently, may he rest in peace, but he was great, and former quarterback, and understood the position, and he was an awesome resource. And then I had Jim Zorn, who was left-handed quarterback, and Jim and I did not get along at all, and our relationship was horrible, and I got nothing from it, and it was a source of contention and frustration from day one. And it was bizarre how it was, because you just go, man, left-handed quarterbacks kind of got to stick together, kind of thing, and whatever, and just had different agendas, and it just did not work out at all with Jim. So whether it's a former player or not, is irrelevant. It's because Mark was just, he's just great at, that, and he talks about, Mark did the other day about that quarterback room and how special it is, and how important it is, because you do spend so much time together. And if you can't communicate and you can't get on the same page with things, it can be an absolute just horrible experience. So there you have it. All right. We're going to do some fun things here. Let's see. We're going to do, I guess you have Martin, you have a game for us. Is that right? We're going to play a game.
Yes, we do.
As soon as the Down and Dirty returns, and you can play with us. This is always fun. Yeah, we got some fun stuff going on. So we'll do that. And I think it's start, bench, trade. So when the Down and Dirty returns, you get to be the coach, general manager, and all that fun stuff when we play start, bench, and trade. Don't go away. The Down and Dirty. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Matt Mosley of The Matt Mosley Show. We want you to watch our show every day, 1 to 3 on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. And you get to see big name guests like Gary Patterson, Art Briles, Scott Drew, Doug McNamee, major Cowboys insiders, ESPN legends like Sal Palantonio. When news breaks on Cowboys or Baylor or NFL, we want you to look here first. 1 to 3 weekdays. It's the Matt Mosley Show.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us on our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone, and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Hey, it's Zach Gelb. We're talking NFL and college football. Plus, we have some of the biggest interviews in sports media. You got to check out the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports, weekdays, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 to 3 p.m. Central. And make sure you subscribe to my channel, youtube.com/@Zach Gelb Show.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It is the Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell here. So glad you could be a part of our show and a part of our day. We're here to give you the Down and Dirty. Don't worry. You can clean yourself up after you leave. So if you're ready to get more down and dirty, let's do it. We're going to play a game right now. We always like to play games because sports, it is a game. Even though it is live, football is live. So we're going to play start, bench, and trade. And I guess Martin's going to give me some scenarios or vice versa. I'll lay them out here. And Martin, you can decide what you want to do. And I'll give my 2 cents on this. So start, bench, and trade. Basically, who are you going to start? Who are you going to put on your bench? And who are you getting rid of? 3 athletes. And you have to make those tough decisions. And these are tough. All right, so we're going to start with running backs, I believe. We have LaDainian Tomlinson, Adrian Peterson, or Bo Jackson. Who you starting, who you benching, who you getting rid of?
I am going to start Bo Jackson, the most unstoppable running back ever in the game. I'm going to go with controversial. I'm going to bench LT, LaDainian Tomlinson, and I'm trading Adrian Peterson. I will get every single draft pick, every single player for AP. I think just Bo Jackson's the most unstoppable running back there was. If not for that injury, he probably could have been one of those other guys that broke for 2,000 yards.
Okay, so do we have to clarify this? Because is it based off of their actual career, or is it based off of just kind of potential or talent or whatever?
It's based on if you were going to start a team and these 3 were the picks and you were in training camp and these were your 3 running backs, who are you keeping and who are you starting your team with?
I don't know that I would do it different than you. It's a great list, by the way. And all 3 of these guys are the type of running back that I would want to have. And that's really important. These are guys who are going to get you those tough yards. They're not afraid of contact. They can. They also have speed. Of course, Bo has ridiculous speed, and they're just kind of that complete player, complete running back. So great list, by the way. Really good start. But yeah, Bo Jackson, come on, and LT, come on, and really AP, come on. But so great list. I know it's tough because there's always one you got to get rid of. That's the point of the game. And I think you made the right one. All right, next one. Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, Jerry Rice. Wow, Martin, you're stinging me today. I know what you're gonna pick.
Oh, do you?
I know what you're gonna pick. Yeah, I do.
Okay, so I would start.
Hang on. I'm gonna write this down. Okay, and I'm really gonna write this down. I'm gonna go. Okay, I got him. Right.
All right. I'm gonna start Jerry Rice. All right. I told you, you didn't know where I was going with that one. Okay. So I would start Jerry Rice. It's the most unstoppable receiver of all time. And then this is where I'm going controversial. I'm gonna bench T.O. and I'm gonna trade Randy Moss.
What?
Yeah,
you're going to trade him to the Patriots is what you're going to do, and then he's going to go win a Super Bowl.
Exactly, man. Listen, Terrell Owens, I give him credit for being one of the most just entertaining off the field receiver there ever was. He's the reason why we say wide receivers are divas. Okay, he put the diva into that right there, but Terrell Owens learned everything from Jerry Rice because he was that young wide receiver on the Niners. He made up for the catch part 2 against the Packers. And for me, you got to have them 2 together on the team because they're just going to be unstoppable. Randy Moss, I love him, but he ran one route. He was a 50-50 ball guy. He wasn't the most, unique guy with running routes. I'm going to take Terrell Owens and Jerry Rice over Randy Moss.
Make a good point.
I'm going to get every pick I can.
Oh, can't go wrong with Jerry Rice. I mean, that's obvious. I think if you had the combination of Rice and Moss, that could be deadly. And there was always some drama with T.O. for whatever reason, and it is what it is. But I just so you know, I was dead wrong in everything you said there, and I wonder if you did it just because you like. Did you change your mind because, or was that what you're going to do all the time?
No, that's what I was going to do all the time. I'm wondering what you're going to do. What would you do?
No, so I would go Jerry Rice and Randy Moss.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just a okay, yeah, but I don't think you're wrong in your thought process, but yeah. So, all right. So here's the next one, and of course, there's a little humor in this one. You have Dan Marino, Scott Mitchell, Doug Peterson. Whoa!
Yeah,
Look
man,
at all that.
dude,
Look at those photos, man. Woo.
Look at that, bro. Look at that. The trio
All
that
right,
was part of the
what
Miami
are you
Dolphins.
going to do here, Mister?
You know,
where are your loyalties here, buddy?
So here's what I'm gonna do.
Hey, just so you know, by the way, before you start this, there
yes.
was a time, okay, Dan Marino was the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. I was the backup quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, and Doug Peterson was on the practice squad. So this scenario is actually it actually has some real life connotation to it. But go ahead.
See, I'm gonna start from the last, and I'm gonna work my way up. So this is how I'm
Listen
gonna
to you.
this is how I'm gonna tease it. Okay, so I'm gonna trade Doug Peterson because he was just the perfect backup you can ever ask
Yeah.
for. A guy who worked hard at studying the playbook, be ready for the moment, right? And then I'm gonna bench Dan Marino, and I'm gonna start
What?
Scott Mitchell. I'm gonna
What?
put the left-hander.
Listen to
Let's
you.
put the lefty in, man. Let's put the gunslinger in the game. No, I'm a it's fun to have these little scenarios here. I think you deserved your own chances, and you got them in Detroit. And I think you proved it in a fair competition with Detroit. And there were some things that went wrong. We've talked about it, but I think Dan Marino was the fastest gunslinger in the West. He had that ability. But yeah, why not? Have a little fun, man. Throw Scott Mitchell out there. Let's see what he can do in an 18-game schedule. Let's see what you can do now these days, man. I mean, Dan Marino, he had one thing. He just throw the ball quickly. That was it. Okay, that was it. You know, what else did he have? 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards. You know, did he have a Super Bowl appearance? I don't think that matters more than a left-hander, okay? That's just my opinion.
So thank you for doing that. And I know you're being kind to me. And it was brave of you to actually put this in to start with. Just let me Doug Peterson, best teammate you could ever have. Like he's the kind of person you want to have on your team. Just an amazing person, individual, and just a great teammate, really. I mean, just think the world of Doug. And yeah, so but yes, I would trade Doug. But I will tell you that Dan Marino, there was nothing cooler than watching Dan Marino play on game day. He was really amazing. And had I stayed in Miami, because the system was so quarterback friendly, and there might have been a time when I would have agreed with you. And there were some people that actually did say, wait a minute, this young guy here, he's playing. And so, at the right time, it might make sense. It might make sense to even trade Marino and bench Doug Peterson and start me. That could be a scenario, because I don't know what my full potential would have been at Miami. I just know that when I stepped in and started playing, it was like, man, I could do this. And I played at a very high level there. And so to see what, putting some years together might actually have made some sense. But yeah, this is fascinating. And in fact, I think that if it was during my time with the Dolphins and I was just starting to play, I think I would go start me, bench Doug Peterson, and trade Marino. There you go. I said it. All right. Lawrence Taylor, Micah Parsons, Reggie White. Woo!
Well, you already know where
you
I'm
stay
going
up
with.
all night dreaming of this stuff because this
Hey
is
man,
these are some good names.
we got to put some heat behind these type of questions, man. Listen,
man.
I'm gonna start Reggie. I'm gonna bench LT, and then I'm gonna
Ooh.
trade the Packer. Okay,
Ooh.
Parsons is gone. That cheese ugly color. I can't believe that's a uniform in the NFL, man. I just can't believe
Yeah.
it.
So you're
Um,
biased, basically. By the way, Reggie White did play for the Packers.
I do
It,
know that, but he
yeah.
was phenomenal in Green Bay, but that was towards the later end of his career. But that Philadelphia Eagle, Reggie White, was just an absolute tear that you could not stop no matter what you did. LT is the reason why left tackles get paid so much money these days, and the reason why you worry about that position. But I'll take Reggie White. Reggie White was, to me, the most unstoppable edge rusher there ever was in the game.
Yeah, another great group of guys here. Micah Parsons is just still kind of young, but the impact of LT was immediate. Changed the game. He was really just a phenomenal player. And then of course Reggie White, same thing. I mean, they were just difficult to handle one-on-one, and you always had to account for them. And that made them special. I think LT had a bigger ability to make plays and to be a difference maker than Reggie. I don't know. I guess you could. I see. I played against Reggie in Green, or when he was in Green Bay, and we weren't sitting here going, okay, how are we going to deal with like it wasn't. We never really felt that way with him. But LT, different story. So I'm starting LT. I'm benching Reggie and Micah. We're going to trade you to the Chicago Bears.
There we go.
There
He'll
you
look
go.
better in royal blue and orange. He'll look better.
All right, Mel Blount, Darrelle Revis, or Patrick Surtain Jr.
I'm gonna trade Patrick. I put him in here just because he's the next, to me, he's the next up and coming of these type of two. Mel Blount is a Hall of Famer, and Darrelle Revis, obviously Revis Island, but I think Patrick Surtain is on that trajectory where he's just going to be remembered as one of the greats. Trade the young guy, but I'm gonna go starting Revis Island. I don't think there was anything more unstoppable in 2009 with Revis Island. I think he was the most pinnacle, stop gap, corner that could just stay with anybody. Yes, he got moments where he got burned, but Mel Blount played on a team with so many Hall of Famers that all he had to do was just show up and play his cover three covers that they played during that era. He was a phenomenal, but Revis took on the best receivers there was in the game, and he had some of the best stats you can ask for. I think I don't compare Revis to Deion Sanders. I think Deion is the best corner to ever play the game, but I don't think it's too far of a gap between Deion Sanders and Revis. I don't think at all. So that's why I would start Revis Island over Mel Blount.
Yeah, I think Patrick Surtain Jr. certainly trading, but it's fascinating because the two very different eras of football for cornerbacks, and you wonder because it was so physical, and they changed rules because of Mel Blount, because he just shut people down, and so you wonder how well would Mel Blount do in today's game. I think he would be still phenomenal. An incredible individual. I just can't see not starting Mel Blount. It almost seems sacrilegious to do that. Although Revis Island was certainly a tremendous player as well. So I'm gonna start. I'm gonna just have it just how you have it on the screen there. Starting Mel, benching Revis, and bye to Surtain. All right, what do we have here next? We've got Anthony Munoz, Joe Thomas, and Art Shell.
Yeah, you got to go with the three. I think these are the three best left tackles of all time. Obviously, Thomas got the raw end of the deal. He was with Cleveland. He didn't get a chance to go to the playoffs or do anything special with that, but he was phenomenal in that left tackle position. I'm going to start Art Shell because Art Shell, one, played for the Raiders. I love those 70 Raiders teams, the stories of all that stuff. I just love how dirty and how conniving and how they got away with stuff. But Art Shell was unmovable. I'm a bench Munoz. Munoz is one of the very best. I understand that. I know you're looking at me going, "What are you talking about?" But I'll take Art Shell over Munoz. I'll trade Joe Thomas so he can go win a Super Bowl or at least make it to the playoffs somewhere else and get him off that Cleveland Browns team. But I'll take Art Shell, the original unstoppable, unmovable left tackle there was in the NFL.
I think that Joe Thomas receive a special award. Anytime you can be on just an absolutely horrid team and be recognized and to play at such a high level when the chances of winning are slim to none, and to show up every week that speaks volumes. That environment can just kind of wreck you, and to be able to be a true pro through all of it is outstanding. But there, Anthony Munoz, Anthony Munoz might be the first person I pick on my team if I'm building a team. Like, I'm starting with that guy right there. Unbelievable, massively athletic and strong, and just an unbelievable player. So he's absolutely starting for me. And then of course, good old Art will. I think I might even go with Joe Thomas as my backup, and I'm gonna trade Art Shell. So
Okay.
all right, last one: Ray Lewis, Brian Urlacher, or Luke Kuechly.
Keithley. Yeah, Luke Keithley.
Keekly. I always get his name wrong, and I feel bad about that because I'm a Luke Kuechly.
Yeah, you think I'm gonna be biased here, but I have the way it is on the screen is exactly how I'm gonna have it. I'm gonna start Ray Lewis. I'm gonna bench Brian Urlacher, and I'm gonna trade Luke Kuechly. I was a huge Brian Urlacher fan when I was a kid. There was a year where I was 7 years old, and my parents asked me what I want to be for Halloween, and I said Brian Urlacher. They bought me the orange Brian Urlacher jersey. They bought me the helmet. I wore it. I wish I had a picture of it that showed up on the screen. But Ray Lewis was topped by, in my arguments, in my eyes, the second greatest linebacker of all time, which is Mike Singletary. He was his linebacker coach in Baltimore, and I think Ray Lewis is ultimately the split between both old school linebacker and someone that can adapt to the new school and learn the techniques of being a cover linebacker. Brian Urlacher was amazing, and Luke Kuechly was amazing as well. But Ray Lewis, man, what can you say? He's either 1 or 2 on a linebacker list of all time. There's no question.
Yeah, and Ray was a phenomenal leader, actually. And it was something he certainly grew into as he played and matured as a player. He was a phenomenal player, and just about as down and dirty as they get when they play. I mean, he's a guy you want to go to war with and go battle with, because he's just relentless. I mean, that was just how he played. He was relentless. Urlacher, amazing talent. Kuechly, same. All of them Hall of Famers. So yeah, I'll stay with how it is. I just think it's the longevity of Urlacher over Kuechly, and I think they're very similar in their styles, but I think I'd keep it the same way. All right. Well, we're going to take a break right now and ponder our decisions and wonder if we've done things right, if there's anything we want to change, but we can't because we have to live with it. We've made our statements. We've made our bed. We've got to sleep in it now. I thought it'd be fun when we come back, though, to talk about the most important person, the most important player in each of the 4 most prominent professional sports leagues we have. So who's the most important player today and historically in the top 4? We'll do that when we return here on the Down and Dirty.
Hi, my name is Mike Lacey. I'm with Beyond the Game, a new podcast to the Rogue Media Network. Just when you thought you'd had a little bit too much about BYU, here we are to provide you even a little bit more. I, as part of the BYU group, am grateful that we're part of the Big 12 and really grateful that we're part of the Rogue Media Network. Thank you.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. The luxury and confidence of premium clad stainless steel meets Scratch Defense Extreme Non-Stick that won't scratch, ever. With an ultra-thick aluminum core for high-performance heating. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance of clad stainless steel. Scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Are you looking for top shelf sports talk about the West Virginia Mountaineers, where you can get objective analysis, but with the passion of a fan? Well, look no further than right here at Couz's Corner. I am Justin Couz Walker, the host of Couz's Corner, and you can find my show on demand over at YouTube. Most shows are uploaded by 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also check out my live post-game reaction shows. My special guest interviews, you can find it all on YouTube at Couz's Corner. Go check it out.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell. So glad you could join us. Really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Okay, let's get into this right now because I thought this would be a fun discussion about the 4 top professional sports leagues. So the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL. And I'm not going to get that's just all we're going to deal with because I don't know about cricket. I don't know about European handball. Golf, tennis, they're all nice, but anyways, this is what we're doing. So
well, you're not staying up until 4 a.m. to watch a cricket match?
No, I'm not. I do want to know how it's played though. I'm going to study up and figure out how a cricket game or match or whatever they call it, how it actually works, because apparently it's popular. So we'll see. And I wonder the food, like what kind of concessions do you have at a cricket? I believe it's a match, right? Anyways.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I thought this would be kind of interesting. I was just thinking about, who has had like the absolute biggest impact on all of these different sports, in both the ones that are most impactful today, and then of course the one that is most impactful of all time. So I want to start with the NFL. And so give me a player today you think is most impactful, and then someone in the past who actually you think of all time was the most impactful player ever.
Ooh, that's a good question.
It's a tough question.
Yeah, it is a tough question. There's a lot of players to pick, but I think I'll go with the 2 most popular ones. I think for both answers, I will go with Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Patrick has just captured a lot of attention now these days in the modern of the NFL because of the comeback wins, the Super Bowls. I mean, it's just he is what you imagine as one of those legendary Super Bowl quarterbacks. In history, it's Tom Brady. I mean, the 7 titles, the most appearances in a Super Bowl by a quarterback, the dragon of the New England Patriots, being the 6th round pick, the underdog rises to the occasion and proves everybody wrong, and passes. He passes Peyton Manning, he passes Drew Brees, guys that probably should have had 2-3 Super Bowls under their belts, winning titles, and he just came right from nowhere and stole all that attention. And yeah, I think it's right to put both of those in that position right there. I can argue for some other guys, maybe Joe Montana, maybe John Elway. You could argue maybe some running backs, Jim Brown, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith. But I think when it comes down to it, it's Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes for both now and the past.
Yeah, the question I think with this, at least in my mind, and I'm talking about traditionally, like what player, really has maybe moved the needle the most. I know there was a moment in the NFL when the New York Giants and the Baltimore Colts played each other in a championship game, and it was the first time that an NFL game had been played on a national basis. And they saw, and of course it was an amazing game. And so, it's compelling television to begin with. And of course you had the Giants, which were in the largest market, and you had Johnny Unitas, who was clearly the most popular player of that era. I mean, he was a big freaking deal. And I don't know that it isn't someone like that or it's that moment where, because that's what really made it possible for the popularity of the NFL to actually happen. And then you talk about Joe Namath, where Joe Namath came along, and what happened was there were two leagues, and everyone really felt like the NFL was kind of it. The AFL was, the excuse me, was the wicked stepchild. And when Joe Namath beat he beat the Baltimore Colts, and that's when they go, okay, now the NFL is what it is today. And I almost wonder if it's that moment, and it, because that to me, so it's not, so I look at this not necessarily like, because Tom Brady came along and is like, wow, yeah, he really did something no one had ever done, but it was kind of those foundational things that led it to be possible. And I don't think you're wrong in your picks, either player, but I almost feel like it's the Jets and Joe Namath winning that Super Bowl that really solidified, said, okay, the NFL is a real thing with these two conferences, and it's going to go forward. I almost think that is maybe the most important moment. All right. And I'm going to say, I can't disagree with someone like Patrick Mahomes. And a lot of Patrick Mahomes is kind of the way he plays today. I'm trying to think of another player you just go that really moves the needle with things, and I can't come up with one. So I really like that. All right. NBA, current NBA player, and then of course someone traditionally who was the most important person.
You think I'm gonna choose Michael Jordan? I'm not gonna choose Michael Jordan. Though he is the best player to ever play the game. I will argue that till the moon rises. The most impactful or the most important, or someone who had that that type of stardom to begin the NFL, I think is Will Chamberlain. I think he was the true superstar, that unbelievable player you had to go see, you had to go watch, you had to be in person to see what this guy did. He was that person that obviously stood out. I mean, if you're 7'3", you're gonna stand out regardless of what you do in the game. So I think it's Will Chamberlain to start. A current player, yeah, he's 43 years old, but there's no argument about, LeBron James. I mean, it's just, there's no argument. I mean, he's continued to do this exact same thing since he was 18 years old in 2003. To do it all the way to very much now is incredible. So those two guys I'm picking because one, was just the 100-point guy, the unstoppable player, just everything about it, playing for the Lakers, playing for the Sixers. And LeBron James, I mean, won 3 championships in 3 different destinations. And that's unheard of in this day and age in the NBA. So I'm gonna choose those two guys.
Yeah, look, it's interesting because LeBron is so old, and he's still playing at a high level. But today, like in the moment, because if you look at every story, LeBron James is going to be in every story that's talked about in the NBA. Like even right now, is LeBron injured? How long is he going to play? Why did Luka pass him the ball when he should have, and so he's always in the discussion. He's and even in the discussion of, it's constant, it's like Jordan, LeBron, who's the better player all time, and so that the point is that there is that discussion. Now, traditionally, I think, you can't give one without the other, but I think these two players were so important for the NBA, and that it's around and that it's thriving like it is today, and that's Magic and Bird, and it was the rivalry between those two that really made the NBA mainstream. It made it coast to coast. It was two very traditional franchises, and it was two players who were really dynamic people. They were, Magic. I mean, he was Magic. And they both just they got on the stage and they just shined. They were just incredible, and so I can't give one to the other. And I think Wilt is a great, he was clearly a great player, but I just think it was that rivalry between the Celtics and the Lakers that made the NBA relevant and popular. and it's very similar to kind of the Joe Namath pick. And but you can't pick one of them because it's really they're kind of a combination deal. And so I'm going to break my rule here, but I just don't think it's different. All right, Major League Baseball. Where are we on Major League Baseball?
Ooh, I think Babe Ruth is an argument there. I think he obviously is the most famous of them all. Ted Williams, he took a break from baseball, World War II, took action and came back and just dominated the game. Joe DiMaggio, what can you say? He's probably the most famous Yankee of all time, even over Babe Ruth. Obviously, you got the 90s era, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa just smashing home runs left and right, destroying everything that was in front of them. In current day and age, I think obviously the current day and age, the most obvious pick is Shohei Ohtani, the two-way unicorn in the game, the impact he has and how everyone just calls him the greatest of all time, period, end of story right now. But I'm going to choose one of those guys from the 90s, and I think regardless of the cheating, I think regardless of the asterisks he put next to his name, I think it's Mark McGwire. I think Mark McGwire was that guy that just smashed everything in front of his face. He was a home run guy from the start, and him chasing the 72 number, the 62 number, him being on that pace year in and year out when he was in his early 20s, when he was in his mid 30s, going towards the end. Barry Bonds obviously has the home run record and is regarded as one of the greatest to ever step on a field, but Mark McGwire was the guy that was the start of all of that and was the reason why the summer of 98 was so much fun with him and Sammy Sosa, and the reason why people glued their eyes to the TV to watch him play every single day that they could. And, it was a stardom that hasn't died yet either. And so I think Mark McGwire deserves his place in MLB history as being the guy that grabs so many people's attention.
That's a bold pick. I just can't get over how Babe Ruth played such a long time ago, and he's still in the discussion, and his legacy has never ever diminished over time, and it's just I just he was kind of, I don't know that he was the start of it, but the Yankee tradition in baseball has gone on for nearly a century now. And he was a big part of that beginning and a big part of making baseball and baseball players bigger than life. And he was, what he did in an era of dead balls and cavernous baseball fields, watching the Babe hit a home run was something truly unique and special. And he delivered in a huge way. So historically, easily for me, it's Babe Ruth. Today, I just love Shohei Ohtani. I just think it's fascinating that he's this two-way player, that he continues to be that player. He's won a couple of championships now with the Dodgers, and certainly he's validating kind of I just think he's just a very unique player and someone that I think moves the needle probably more than anyone as far as an intrigue in today's baseball. All right, last one, NHL, traditionally and today.
I'll make this one quick. Traditionally, it is and forever will be Wayne Gretzky. There's no argument. The chosen one. He was the greatest to ever step on an ice. He argues against that. He says Mario Lemieux, who was with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Others will argue Gordie Howe. He obviously played in the early days in the NHL. Currently, as much as I want to go Connor McDavid, I'm going to go with a controversial one. I'm going to go with an American. I'm going to go with Matthew Tkachuk. Matthew Tkachuk is, to me, what is American hockey these days, USA hockey. He just lives and breathes and loves the idea of playing the game, but representing America, what he did for Four Nations until he got hurt in the final game, obviously what he did for Team USA at the Olympics. I think that's one of those incredible runs that we're going to talk about for a long, long time. If we had to pick a moment from the sport, Scott, obviously it's the Miracle on Ice in 1980. There's no argument about that one. It's what every And you watch it on sports highlights, and it comes up everywhere. You know, you hear the Al Michael call in your head right now. I mean, do you believe in miracles? So to pick the two players, it's, to my eyes, it's Wayne Gretzky, Matthew Tkachuk. At a moment, it's 1980. There's no argument.
All right, I don't disagree with you. I like your picks. Thank you for your input. Really appreciate it, and appreciate you as well. All right, that's the Down and Dirty for today. I hope you have a great day. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Scott Mitchell, of course, the host of this chaos. And until then, we'll see you then.